Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am about to do a whole bunch of die cutting. I had these shaker dies out from Tonic Studios. I was making a couple of cards this morning with these dies and the Echo Park stuff over there. And I figured, why not use this to make a traveler's notebook spread? The shaker dies kind of come with two pieces. There's an outside die and an inside die, and I figured I could just use that outside die to create like a coffee cup shape to use in my notebook. So I've always got an abundance of coffee photos to document, and that's what I'm going to do today. Unsurprisingly, in my stash of metal dies, I have a whole bunch of coffee dies. I've got a couple of different cups and sort of a couple of takeaway kind of coffee dies. So I'm just going to use those to die cut some papers from that Echo Park paper pad, which, to be fair, I have made significant roads in, so there's a lot of scrappy pieces left over, and I'm going to use that. But the thing I found about that paper pad is some of the patterns, and you can see here from the colors on the sticker sheet, I am just pulling out a few of the extra cups here. A lot of the colors are super dark, so the patterns are really dark, and I find it overwhelmingly dark on a traveler's notebook spread. So this way I'm just going to use little pops of those patterns cut from using those dies, and it just lightens everything up having that white background. So I did trim off a little bit of the side of my photo just so that it would fit on the page a bit nicer with that actual coffee cup die. And I'm going to attempt to make this page mostly with the scraps that I've got rather than cutting into the few whole pages that I have left. So I've just pulled out some of the ones that I think might work. Like I said, a lot of the patterns are really dark and really busy, and so I just picked out a few of the simpler ones. Now I went to die cut this kind of pink cup, and I realized if I folded it in half and then die cut it without cutting the top, I could have a little fold up flap. And my original idea was that I was going to have my journaling kind of hidden underneath there. The further I get along with this page, I really don't like the way it kind of flaps up, and I didn't have any way to stick it down, and I just wanted a really nice simple flat page. So you can see here I've replaced it immediately. I'm just using one of the black and white patterns. I am going to use this pink here on this tiny little takeaway cup, but I really just want to keep things, you know, as simple as possible. And so all I'm going to do is just keep die cutting these little cups. I've got a lot of black and white patterns here, which I like. There's black, the photo has some lighter colors in it, but it does have that really heavy dark black cup in there. So using some of those black and white patterns kind of ties that all together. But I did want to add just a little bit more color. I've got that red cup, and I decided to use this really dark teal green. There is a little bit of a pattern on there, so it gives it a bit more texture just onto this left hand page to stop everything becoming too monochromatic. And just, I know that I want to add back in some of those cup stickers from the sticker sheet, and they are all super colorful, so I don't want to make all of these die cut cups too black and white. I want to add some color in there. Now the thing I like about these takeaway cups, and the larger one here with the heart in the middle is from Rosie Studios, and the smaller one is from a Spellbinders set, I think, is they've got these lines on them so you can really easily paper piece them together. So I've cut out black lids for both of them, and this larger one has a kind of coffee sleeve through the middle of it, so I want to I'm just going to die cut another one and then trim out that coffee sleeve. And I also decide that in the middle of that heart, rather than leaving it as a hole, when you die cut it, it pops out a little heart, so I can easily piece that into the middle as well. At some point I realized that the smaller Spellbinders die that I've got, that does have it does have a little coffee sleeve piece itself. It is separate, so I did go back into my little die cut pile and see if I could find it. It is a tiny tiny little piece of a die, so I had to hunt around for it, and it was at the bottom of the container, so I did find it. I'll be a bit more careful about storing that with the actual die. And so I've cut both of those sort of coffee sleeve pieces you can see for some florals, just to add a little bit more pattern into there. Now, I did decide that I wanted the same pattern, but just the cup around the other way. So if you die cut the paper from the reverse, it means the handle of the mug's going to be on the right side, or the left side, the other side. So that's what I did for that one there, just so that both of the mugs weren't facing the same way. And that's all my die cutting done, finally. I can go ahead and start sticking stuff down now. So on this left-hand side, everything's a little bit large because of my photo. So I did stick the photo over top of the coffee mug. And on the left-hand side, the right-hand side, it's going to be a little bit more open space. And so the focal point of the page is definitely on the left-hand side. Now that I've got those two larger mugs, it's a really simple exercise to just glue these pieces together. I'm just using a little bit of liquid adhesive, which is just some cheap PVA glue in a fine liner bottle. It just makes it a lot easier than trying to use tape runner on these tiny little pieces, although I have done that before as well. And I'm going to do the same thing with this Rosie Studios die, but like I said, I've got that little pink heart to pop into the middle there, but there's nothing to actually glue that onto, so I have to wait until I've glued these pieces down onto the page before I can add the heart. But then it's a really easy process because it just kind of pops in like a little jigsaw puzzle. So the only trick is when you're creating the sleeve like that is to make sure that that heart really does sit exactly over top of each other. Once I've got all those pieces glued on, I am using the tape runner to stick them down just because I don't want too much liquid adhesive onto my actual pages. This is a brand new notebook, which I just made this afternoon. I filled up my other one, so I've just made a new one with some just plain blank white paper, and so I didn't want too much sort of liquid glue bubbling onto the reverse page. But you'll see that was kind of a waste of time anyway, because I do end up splattering, which of course goes straight through to the other side. Now I'm going to go back to those stickers that I had originally picked out. There was this kind of peachy one, and I'm going to overlap that onto my photo, and my little blue one, and this kind of, I guess, like a iced coffee cup there with the lid, and just trying to work out where to put these because they are kind of a similar size. They're a similar size to each other, but also a similar size to that pink coffee cup that I've already done. And I just feel like it needs a little bit more variety. So the blue one, I will end up using it, but I put it back for now because there are a few different variations of it in some of these other phrase stickers. Like this particular one has a really tiny little one, so I decided just to trim it out. A couple of the other ones, it kind of, the text overlaps the cup, but this one I could really easily just cleanly cut that out of the sticker. But I did like the blue, so I decided to add the bigger blue one back in as well. And I figured while I was here, I would just add a title. So I'm gonna just grab this sticker, Coffee Every Day. And I will add one more sticker back into that title, just to use, again, a little bit more of the blue. It gives me kind of 3 areas of blue. And I am going to overlap the cups at the top there just because I've got a little bit of overlapping on the left hand side. Again, just trying to tie the whole thing together. So there I'm going to add my sticker. I haven't really worked out where I'm going to do any journaling. I don't have a huge amount of journaling to add, but I do want to add some, so I'm kind of thinking about it. But I decided that I would add a few little splatters. First I was going to make sort of a brown watercolor like coffee, but I kind of want to tie in that peachy cup at the top. It's the only sort of peach bit that's on there. And I do have this Heidi Swapp Color Shine. It's a super old one, but it is almost exactly that same color. So I'm going to risk some actual splatters, and I'm kind of aiming them towards the sort of diagonal from the top left to the bottom right, but just a few in those other places, but just to give a little bit of direction to the page. Now I do need to let those dry because they are quite liquid. I guess that's the advantage with doing that fake splattering that I do with a gel pen, but I didn't have a gel pen to match this colour, so real splatter it was. I just typed out a few really quick lines of journaling on a little bit of scrap paper just with my typewriter, and I'm going to trim those into strips. And I decided, instead of trying to find somewhere to put all of those words, there wasn't really a solid space to put them, that I would just sprinkle them all across the right hand side of the page. So I'm going to go just a bit haphazard, but it will fill in a few of those little blank spaces. And I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm just using that liquid adhesive, just tiny little amount, and my tweezers to place everything. And that's it. That's this really simple coffee page all done. I love that I get to use my dies. I don't pull them out very often, so I figured having it out on my desk was a good opportunity to make the most of them. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. If you want to keep watching, there are a couple more videos on screen. Otherwise, I'll see you next time. Bye guys.